Hello everyone and welcome to Let's Photoshop. In this tutorial, we'll see how to create this really cool polar bear photo manipulations that you can see in here using Adobe Photoshop. But before we're gonna do that, make sure to subscribe and comment and leave a like. Alright, so let's get to it. Okay, so let's go ahead and open Photoshop and then let's open the files that we'll be using. As you can see, this is all the files that we'll be using. We have the polar bear, dryland, and birds, also this sky, and the mountain with the snow, and another birds. Alright, so the first thing that we need to do is to cut out the bear. As you can see, we have in here the polar bear, but I already did it because I don't want to make more time in this tutorial. So I will just open the cutout PSD that I saved it, and as you can see I already have the layer mask in here applied as a cutout, and also some fix on top because I want to hide all these edges in here. As you can see, these black edges. So I just create a layer and I clip it to the bear layer, and using a clone stamp tool you can just sample from the edge and hide all this black in here. Alright, now I'm gonna create a new layer on top and let's call this bear. Then I'm gonna stamp visible layer this bear. So I'm gonna press Ctrl Shift Alt E all together, or Command Shift Option E all together, and this will actually take a screenshot of what we have in the canvas and put it in a new layer. Alright, now I'm gonna press Ctrl Command A and then Ctrl Command C to copy this bear, and I can just close this because I already copied it, and let's save these changes. Alright, now I'm gonna create a new document, so I will go to File, New, and I want to use like a 4K settings in here. I already have it saved, so it's 3840 pixels for the width and 2160 pixels for the height, and I will keep the resolution set to 72 and RGB and everything in here set, but of course feel free to use whatever resolution you want. Alright, so I'm gonna press OK, and then I'm gonna press Ctrl Command V to paste the bear that we just copied a while ago. As you can see, we have it in here, so I'm just gonna name it bear or polar bear. Alright, and then I will right click on this and convert it to smart objects. Alright, now I'm gonna select the background, and then I will go to adjustment and I will create a solid color for our background. Alright, so let's keep this color in here and I will press OK. And let's delete this background and also this layer mask. And let's call this PG for background. Alright. Now I'm gonna select the polar bear and then I'm gonna press Ctrl Command T, and I will resize it a little bit to make it a little bit smaller, somewhere right there, and I will one click on this check mark. Alright, now we have our bear in here. Now let's go ahead and open the mountain image that we're gonna blend with this bear in here. So let's open it like this and then make it bigger. And I think I'm gonna rotate it, so I'm gonna right click and choose flip horizontally. Actually, I'm gonna flip it, not rotate it, because I want this part to be in the head. Also, I want to put down the opacity a little bit, so let's put down the opacity to like 70 or 60% to see, and then I'm gonna rotate it this time, and I want this edge to be just right here. This round edge in here, I want it to be here. So I'm gonna take this point in here that you can see. If you can't see it, you can just click on this point in the middle in here option that we have in here while you are in the transform mode. You can just check it and it will show up. So we'll take it and drag it just right here. So this one, it will be like this, it won't move because we have a point in here that is like a pin that we pin it. Alright, so and then I'm gonna drag from this corner in here until I'm happy with where the placement of this part in here, but I think I'm gonna rotate it a little bit more, somewhere that's right there. You can also go back and change this, but I think this is because we made it bigger, it changed a little bit, so I'm gonna drag it and put it back to where it was and then rotate it. That's right there. Alright, I think I'm happy with this, so I'm just gonna one click on this check mark and I will make the opacity back to 100%. Alright, now I want actually to desaturate everything. So to do that, we can apply like an adjustment layer on top of everything and we'll make everything desaturated. But I want to have the black and white or desaturation in each layer. So let's start with the mountain. So I'm just gonna go to adjustment and choose hue and saturation, for example, and clip it to the mountain layer. And after that, I'm just gonna drop down the saturation and this will make it black and white. And I will do the same for the polar bear. We'll go back to adjustment and hue and saturation and clip it and put down the saturation too. And now we have like black and white apply for both of them. Alright, next I want to get rid of this sky. Because we have a clear separation between the mountains and the sky, it should be very easy to do using only the subject method. So let's go to select and choose subject and wait for it to process. And as you can see, we have a fairly nice selection, maybe in this part, but we can fix that. So I'm gonna apply this selection by using a layer mask, and as you can see, we have our selection. Alright, and if you really want to clear this out, you can just while you are selecting the layer mask, use a brush and 100% opacity, and then using black as your foreground color, you can just delete from this part in here. So I think these details it doesn't show, so it's not something of a big of a deal. So we can just clean this a little bit, and I think I'm happy with this. Alright, so while we are still in the layer mask, we're just gonna use the same brush, and this I'm gonna put down the opacity to like 70%, or no, actually like 50%. And I want to blend this edge with the bear, so I'm just gonna delete using black as my foreground color and play with the size of the brush, just like this, to blend everything together, to keep some details of the trees and all this good stuff. Alright, something like this, also from the face. Alright, I think I'm happy with this. Alright, now we're gonna do the same for the bear, but only in this edge in here. So let's go back to the polar bear layer and create a layer mask, and again using a brush, using black as my foreground color, and we'll delete all this from the bear image in here, just like this, to make everything look like blending together. Let me make the opacity 100 and delete all this stuff in here, maybe this part too. Alright, I think I will go back to the other layer and fix a little bit this more. So let's go back to the mountain, and I want to reveal a little bit of the mountain in here. So let me put the opacity back to like 60%, and this time using white I want to reveal this part in here and then blend it a little bit. Alright, let me actually make the brush a little bit smaller and reveal this part in here. Maybe zoom in a little bit. And delete this sky in here that we have. Alright, I think that's okay. Alright, now I want actually to apply another adjustment layer for the mountain. So let's go to adjustment and choose level this time. And I want to make it more visible with the white, so we can match the color of the bear in here. A little bit of just like this maybe. Maybe play with the black and white points in here. As you can see, it looks much better like that. Alright, and also I want this part in here it's a little bit black for me in the bear. I want to fix that. So let's go back to the polar bear layer and then select the hue saturation on top, and then add a level adjustment again, and then clip it. And for this I want to actually use this black and white slider is in here. So let's use the black and put more white, just like that, until we see this part start to be looking more better, just like that. And then I'm gonna select the layer mask and press Ctrl Command I to invert it, and using a brush with a low opacity like 50 and a low flow like 50% too, I will paint in this area in here until it's matching the colors of everything else, like that, just like this. Maybe not all of them, just some parts. As you can see, I think it looks much better, but I will drop down the opacity just a little bit, and I think it looks okay. Alright, now it's time for us to change the color of the background. So let's select the background solid color, and let's go with a color that it's a little bit more warm, and somewhere like that. I think it should go with the theme of the image that we want to use, so like a dry season or something like that. Yeah, something like this. Also, we can go back and change it if we want, but I think it looks okay. Alright, next I will go back to my folder, and let's open this dry land in here, and let's make it bigger, because I only want to use some part of it, only the ground. So let's make it bigger, just around this much. Okay, so like that. Alright, and then I'm gonna change the blending mode to multiply, and I will apply a black layer mask by one click on this layer mask while I'm holding Alt or Option, and one click on this layer mask, it will make it black. And then using the same brush with a low opacity and low flow, just gonna paint using white as our foreground color. We'll paint just right here to make it like it's a ground that the bear is walking on top of it, like that, just like this. All right. Alright, now we're gonna go back and delete. Let's actually make the opacity even low and the flow low, and then switch black to our foreground color, and let's zoom out. Maybe make the brush bigger, and I will delete to make it fade with the color of the background, just like that. And then again, I'm gonna press X to change to white to add to this, and change it between black and white to have a better result in the end. So let's actually make this a little bit more visible in these areas in here, like this, and hide all this in here. Maybe I will make the flow even lower, like 14%, and delete a little bit in here. and add a little bit in this part. Alright, I think it looks okay, but I think I'm gonna drop down the opacity a little bit to like 70%, just to have these little details in here. You can also apply a hue and saturation on this dry land in here and clip it and play with the saturation a little bit, so make it blend even more, like 50% or 40%, minus 30% saturation. I think it looks good. Alright, now I want to add a little bit of shadow in the feet of the bear. So let's go and create a new layer on top of this dry land, and let's sample a dark color, maybe this one, and maybe make it a little bit darker, just like that. And using the same brush with like let's put the flow a little bit more. Just gonna add some shadow in here. It's a little bit like a contact shadow first. Alright, and then I'm gonna change the blending mode to multiply and put down the opacity a little bit. And then I'm gonna create a new layer again, and this time I'm gonna make the brush a little bit bigger. Also, I'm just gonna make it like this, like a little bit oval, just like that. And I will paint a little bit more shadow, like more visible. Alright, and then I'm gonna change the blending mode to multiply and drop down the opacity quite a bit, like 20% or 25%. That's a little bit of shadow. I think it looks good. Alright, so we're almost done. Now we're gonna add the sky. So let's go back to our file, and this is the sky that we're gonna use. Just like this, and then make it a little bit bigger, or actually way bigger, somewhere like this, like that. I think it looks good. And let me see, actually for this one I think I will change the blending mode to like screen or lighten. I think lighten looks much better. And then I will apply a layer mask again on this, and using the brush, or actually let's use a gradient tool, using the linear gradient, the first one, and black is my foreground color, and I also have this set to a color to transparent, like you know, a color to transparent, which means that if you have black in your foreground color, it will go from black to transparent, and this is very helpful for the layer mask in here. Alright, so we want to keep the layer mask in here selected, and using black as my foreground color while using this gradient, I can just one click in here and put up the gradient, and it will delete everything from down to up. But I like this kind of mountain shadows in here. I think it looks really cool. Alright, I think this is nice. Maybe I will put down the opacity quite a bit, like 85%. Alright, so now, I mean, this is up to you. If you want to add the bird, you can, or if you don't want, it's okay. But I think this place, I want to add a little bit of birds in here, in this area especially. So let's go ahead and open the bird layers. So let's start with this one in here. Alright, so let's make it a little bit smaller, and let's place it just right here. Yeah, somewhere around here. I think it looks good. And then I will change the blending mode to multiply, and I will go to adjustment, and I will add a level adjustment and clip it to the bird layer. And here we can play with the tones to hide all this edge that we have in here, or the corner of the picture. Alright, I think it looks good. Maybe you can even rotate it if you want, and something like that. I think it looks okay. I think I'm not gonna I won't use the other bird layer because I think this is fine. But I think I want to drop down the opacity a little bit from this. So let's add another adjustment, hue and saturation, and clip it to the bird layer and drop down the opacity a little bit. Maybe even make it a little bit white in the lightness, something like that. Alright, I think it looks much better now. Alright, so we are done. Now we're only gonna add some adjustments and some effects. And of course, if you like it like this, you can keep it, but I think I will add a little bit of lights in this area. So let's create a new layer on top of everything. And using the gradient tool, we're gonna actually now use the radial gradient, that is the second one. And then we're gonna zoom in and sample a color from the background in here, just like that. And then I'm gonna one click on this here and drag it down just a little bit like that. Let me just redo it. So I will one click and drag, and this will make a gradient. And then I'm gonna change the blending mode to lighten or screen. So let's keep it screen and drop down the opacity a little bit. Alright, and let me do the same in this area in here. Like that. Maybe this is too much. Let me just make it a little bit smaller. And a little bit in this area in here. Alright, some lights. I mean, you can do that or no, but I think it looks okay. Alright, now we're gonna add some adjustments. So let's go to adjustment and choose curves. And for the curve, we're gonna use the RGB channels. So let's start with the blue. So we're gonna add a little bit of blue, just like this. And we'll add a little bit of yellow to make it that warm tone. Maybe not that much, somewhere around here. Something like that. I think it looks okay. And let's go to the red, and let's add a little bit of red too, and a little bit of cyan, just a little bit, maybe not that much. Yeah, something like that. I think it looks good. And let's play with the green a little bit. Yeah, I think just a little bit of the green, and let's add a little bit of magenta in the middle in here, just like that. Maybe not that much. Alright, and let's go back to the whole RGB, and let's add an S, a little S curve in here. I think it looks okay, but I will drop down the opacity like 70%. Alright, I think it looks nice. Now we're gonna add maybe let's go back to adjustment and add a gradient map. Let's open the gradient in here and let's change this black stop. And I want to add like this orangey color, like this one. Alright, something like that. Maybe a little bit even brownish. Alright, and for the white points I will put actually 50% gray by changing the brightness from 100 to 50%. This will give us 50% gray, and I will press OK. And then I'm gonna change the blending mode to soft light, and I will drop down the opacity, and I will add that's a little bit like 30%. Alright, so the last thing that I want to add is an exposure. So let's add a little bit in the offsets in here, like a little bit, and then the gamma correction, just a touch. Yeah, to give it this fade looking color. And I think I'm happy with this. And of course, if you want to add more adjustments, you can. But for this tutorial, I think it looks nice. Maybe I can go back and adjust it even more. And of course, you can always find out the PSD for all the Patreons and also all the members of the channel. You can find out the full PSD with all the changes that maybe I will make or everything else. Alright, so I hope that you enjoy and you like this tutorial and it was a little bit helpful for you. If you try this, make sure to let me know on Instagram, Facebook, wherever. And don't forget to subscribe and comment and leave a like. And have a nice day. Thank you for watching.